Hello everyone and welcome back. This is going to be another video where I pretend to know what I am doing. This video is going to be a February TBR. A lot of the videos that I've seen so far, people have been talking about reading a bunch of romance novels because of the fact that it's February and Valentine's Day and all this lovey-dovey crap that I could honestly care less about. So my TBR is going to look a little different than other people's, in my opinion at least. I also have less books than I've seen other people reading. I can only read one book at a time. I'm not the type of person that can focus on more than one book, otherwise I get things mixed up, and that's just not who I am. So with that said, I have 6 books? 5? I have 5 books, plus one that I have already read earlier this month. So without further ado, let's just get started. Alright, so the first book that I read this month was We Are Okay by LaCour. In this book, it follows a young girl named Marin who moved to New York. That's where she is going to college, after experiencing a pretty traumatic event during the summer back home in California. I believe it's Los Angeles. Basically, she's trying to get through, I guess, finding herself again, but she does it without the help of people that she should be going to for help. So with that, her friend Mabel from back home comes to visit her after not hearing from Marin for a couple months, I believe, or maybe it's about a month. So she comes to visit, they talk for a while, and Mabel finally gets Marin to admit to some of the things that's been going on in her mind, some of the things that she's been dealing with, what happened back home, and why she sort of did what she did by just abandoning ship and running away to New York to be by herself for a while. This book is definitely a bit of a heavy read. It's emotional, it deals with grief and loss and loneliness and isolation, and it's a lot to deal with, especially if you're going through that at the time as well. There's also an LGBT relationship in here between Mabel and Marin. While I see nothing wrong with that, I don't think it was quite necessary because of the whole premise of this book. I think it could have gone without it, but it wasn't necessarily a bad touch to the book. I thought it was a cute way to show the relationship between the two girls and how close they are. So that was an interesting take on that. But yeah, this was my first book. I read this in probably less than 24 hours. It was only, only 234 pages. So it's fairly short in my opinion, so it's definitely an easy read in that sense. So the next book that is on my TBR is one that I'm currently reading right now, and that is Stephen King's The Shining. So like I said earlier, I'm not really a big fan of like romance novels. That's what a lot of people that I've seen who are doing their TBRs, that's what they're reading right now. I'm the complete opposite. I don't really care that much about it. There are a couple books where I've tried to incorporate that theme into it, but there's not many romance novels on my bookshelf, so that was a little difficult for me. This one is on my list because I watched the movie a couple months ago and I was just not a fan. I think the acting was just super cheesy. The fact that it was really old, it was not played out very well in my opinion. So I wanted to check out the book and see if that was any better. I'm the type of person that thinks that books are better than movies anyways, so I wanted to give it a go. This book follows a family, Jack and Wendy and their son Danny, who go to live at the Overlook Hotel, where Jack is going to work and take care of the place during the winter season while the hotel is closed. In this novel, the family experiences a lot of isolation and just a different atmosphere than you're used to. There's nobody around besides the 3 of them. There's not much to do. They can't leave once the snowstorm hits, so all they have is what's around them, and that kind of gets to the characters, mainly to Jack. I don't really think I need to explain much else with this book. It's a pretty popular one. A lot of people have heard of it. If you haven't, I would check it out. So far, it's fairly good. I plan on finishing it within the week. And I'm interested to see how different it is from the movie, like how the characters are in my own mind versus how they were on the film. Obviously, since I saw the film first, the characters look how they looked in the film to me. I'm not really coming up with my own. There are some discrepancies that are different, but so far I'm definitely liking it. So this one has been good so far. Next up on my list, we have Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This is a book that I read about a year and a half ago while in school. It was for an English capstone class, so we had 7-8 books that semester that we had to read. I don't think I really got to experience this book the way that I would have wanted to. I did like it, but I feel like I was so worried about looking deep into what this novel means overall, like the underlying themes, that I didn't really get to pay attention to the characters and the plot and things that I really look for when I'm reading a book. So this book follows a girl named Janie Crawford, who basically it's kind of like a coming of age novel. That's the best way I could describe it, I guess. Janie is coming to learn about herself and who she is as a person, and just this idea of like self-identity. Who am I, and who am I alone? Who am I with these people? Janie goes through 3 marriages in this novel, ranging from very traditional and very controlling to very open and accepting and equal. And that last one is probably the best marriage for her. She learns the most about herself in that one and who she is as an individual versus who she is in a partnership. It's a 20th century novel, so it's a little older. It focuses on African American culture, so how that's viewed from back then and how we see it now, I guess. This is a love story, so this is one of those where I tried to find something that was romance, I guess, but it's very good. I hope I like it just as much as I did when I read it before, maybe even more than I liked it then, because I actually get to focus on the characters a little more. So yeah, this one will be read after I finish the Stephen King novel. Next up on my list, I have Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. When I first picked this book, I was thinking it was also going to be a romance. When I think of John Green, that's what I think of. I've read Fault in Our Stars and Looking for Alaska, and those are both fairly romantic novels. So when I grabbed this one, I'm like, oh, it's probably going to be the same. That's the type of book that John Green writes. I still don't know too much about this, but I do know that it mainly focuses on Asa and mental health and friendship and love in that respect versus more romantic relationship-y type respect. So I'm definitely interested to see how this plays out. This Asa character pursues some fugitive billionaire. I think it's just her trying to be the best person that she can be, while also struggling with these different mental illnesses, which I'm definitely interested in reading about. I feel like a lot of novels don't really do that type of subject justice, so I think it'll be interesting to see how John Green does with that. Alright, the 4th book on my TBR, we have Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is another one of those where I tried to find a romance novel on my shelf. I have one other Jane Austen novel, which is Pride and Prejudice. I read that a couple months ago and I really enjoyed it. What's wrong with you? I read Pride and Prejudice a couple months ago and I really enjoyed it. I think Jane Austen does a great job with the characterization of the characterization in her novels and how she gives people different perspectives and doesn't always write the norm of what might have been expected of her back then. So Sense and Sensibility follows these 2 sisters. Basically, they're complete opposite and their tastes are complete opposite. It's definitely a love story, that's for sure. It has a lot of satire, which I really love about Jane Austen, what she's able to bring to literature. Lots of secrets, which is also a pretty popular theme in Jane Austen's novels, so I'm interested to see how this plays out. I'm hoping I like it as much as I did as Pride and Prejudice. I'm definitely a big Jane Austen fan, despite not really liking romance novels, so we'll see how this one goes. This one will be read after I read Turtles All the Way Down. And last but not least, we have One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. So this book, I would kind of describe it as a mix between The Breakfast Club and almost like in Clue. Breakfast Club, and Clue. So basically it follows these characters, Bronwyn, Addie, Nate, Cooper, and Simon. They each have their own different like stereotypical groups in school, I guess you could say, just like it did in the Breakfast Club. But at the end of their time in detention, Simon, he does not come out and he is found dead. So there's an investigation that goes on and they have to try to figure out which one of these students is the killer. This should be interesting. I've heard a lot of good things about this one. I've heard a lot of good things about the sequel. I'm definitely interested in that mystery aspect, like the clue aspect, trying to figure out along with the characters who might be responsible. So I think I'll really enjoy this one. So with that, that is the end of my TBR. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of these books. While I would like to, like I said, I'm only able to read one book at a time, so I'll read as fast as I can while also still taking in the information as best as I can so I can process what happens in the best way possible for me. If you have any advice that you would like to put in the comments down below for me while you are here and watching, so I know how to do these videos a little better next time, that would be great. If you'd also like to leave a recommendation down below, different books that maybe you're reading for your TBR or books that you would like to check out that you think that I would like as well, that would be great. But yeah, that is all for this video. Let me know what other videos you'd like to see as well, and I will see you next time. Bye!